The Vreth Dominion had a saying, an old one, carved into the stone above the gates of their war academy on the moon of Kael-Morrow. It went something like this: the weak announce themselves before the battle begins. Commander Dravan Sorel had believed that saying his entire life. He believed it when he stood 6'4", with ash-gray skin that caught the light like polished iron. He believed it when the silver cheek plates along his jaw earned him the nickname, the Blade Face of the Eastern Fleet. He believed it when he crushed 17 resistance cells across 4 star systems without losing a single soldier of rank.
He especially believed it the morning they dragged Mira Sola in through the gates of outpost Narrated 6.
She was a mess. There was truly no other word for it. Her armor, if you could even call it that, looked like something a child had assembled from scrap bins behind a repair dock. Plates of mismatched metal bolted over each other at strange angles. A shoulder guard, that was clearly too large for her frame, strapped on with cargo wire. One gauntlet that gleamed like it had been recently polished. The other one, dull and scratched, looked like it had been dragged through a gravel field. She walked with a slight limp. Her dark hair was a disaster. She had a cut above her left eyebrow sealed with basic medical tape, not even proper med gel. She blinked in the bright floodlight of the outpost Narrated 6 courtyard like someone who had been in the dark for a long time. And she was smiling. Not a nervous smile. Not a scared smile. A calm, easy, slightly bored smile. The kind of smile that belongs on the face of someone waiting in line for food, not someone being escorted by 8 Vreth soldiers into an enemy command outpost. Lieutenant Serren watched her from the upper walkway. Serren had pale blue skin, narrow pointed ears, and a habit of rubbing the small ridge along his brow when something bothered him. He was rubbing it now. "She is the one who destroyed the relay tower?" he asked. Soldier Peck, broad-shouldered with sand-gold skin and a flat nose like a pressed thumb, shrugged with the energy of a man who had stopped questioning the universe. "That is what the scouts say, Lieutenant. The relay tower that had 12 armed guards." "Yes, Lieutenant." "And a shielded perimeter rated for military-grade explosives." "Also, yes, Lieutenant." Serren stared at Mira Sola for a long moment. Her mismatched armor caught the harsh floodlight of the courtyard. The oversized shoulder plate shifted when she moved. It was, genuinely, an embarrassment to look at. "Someone bring her to the commander," Serren said. Then, quietly, more to himself than anyone else, "And maybe get me the inventory logs for the last 6 months." Commander Dravan Sorel wasn't a man who wasted dramatic moments. When Mira was brought into his command hall, he let the silence sit for a full 10 seconds before he looked up from his desk. It was a practiced move, highly effective. Most people started sweating around second 4. She stood there at second 10, still with that same calm look, glancing around the command hall like she was browsing a market she had no intention of buying from. The glowing tactical wall map behind Dravan's desk cast shifting blue light across her patchwork armor. "Sit," Dravan said. She sat. She also immediately stretched one leg out in front of her, crossing her ankle over the other foot, as if she were in her own quarters. He watched this happen with the measured patience of a man who had learned, very early in his career, not to let small things derail his composure. "You are human," he said. "Solid observation," she said. "You must be good at your job." His silver cheek plates caught the blue light of the wall map as his jaw tightened. Just slightly. "Your name?"
Mira Sola,
she said. "Corporal, technically speaking. Though the unit that gave me that rank is probably gone by now, so maybe I am just Mira." "Corporal Mira Sola," he said. "You destroyed our relay tower." "I did," she said pleasantly. 12 guards. 11, actually, she said. One of them fell asleep near the 3rd hour mark. I did not touch him. I am not a monster. The silence in the command hall shifted. 2 of the soldiers standing at the walls exchanged a very small, very brief look. Not a laughing look. More of a, what is happening right now, look. Dravan leaned forward. His full height was intimidating, even seated. He had the kind of face that looked like it had been specifically designed to end conversations. You came here alone, with that. He gestured at her armor. She looked down at herself with genuine affection. What about it? It is broken, he said. It is pieced together from at least 5 different armor types. That shoulder guard is 3 sizes too large. That gauntlet on your left hand is civilian-grade construction material, not military. Right hand, she corrected him. The civilian one is on the right. He stared at her. She stared back. It is embarrassing, he said finally. Whatever mission brought you here, whatever soldier sent you, they failed you. That armor is an insult to the concept of armor. Funny thing about that shoulder plate, she said. I found it in a field outside Kael-Morrow station 3 weeks ago. Someone had dropped it. She paused. Or maybe someone had it knocked off of them. Something moved behind Dravan's eyes. Something small and fast that he shut down immediately. That station was a Vreth command post. Was, she agreed. There was a high-ranking officer stationed there. Commander Belvos, she said. Silver cheek plates. Big attitude. Very fast on his feet, actually. I respected that. I kept his shoulder guard as a reminder. The command hall had gone very, very quiet. Belvos had been Dravan's academy brother, his oldest friend in the Dominion fleet. He had been reported as killed in a human ambush at Kael-Morrow station. The Lasitum assault had been so precise, so completely unexpected, that the Dominion had quietly classified the details rather than admit to their own forces how badly one human operative had dismantled an entire post in one night. Dravan's voice came out level, controlled. Belvos was a decorated commander. He was, she said. The decoration on his shoulder guard is very nice, actually. I kept it polished. The soldier by the left wall, young Orek, with faint glowing gold freckles across his sand-brown cheeks and small, smooth-finned ears, made a noise. A very small noise. It might have been a cough. It might have been something else. He stared straight ahead when Serren glanced at him. Dravan stood up. He was even more impressive standing. 6'4", with the posture of someone who had spent a lifetime expecting everyone in the room to look at them. He walked around his desk slowly. His rank sash, deep violet edged in silver, moved with him. You walked in here, he said, alone, in broken armor, with a piece of a dead man's equipment on your shoulder, smiling. Why? Because I wanted to have this conversation, Mira said. What conversation? The one where you realize, she said, that I am not actually here for you. A pause. Then why are you here? She smiled again, that same calm, bored, easy smile. I am here for your navigation core, the one in Sublevel 3, the one that has the coordinates for your fleet's secondary staging point. A beat of absolute silence. Then Dravan said very carefully, We will find out how much you know, and then you will tell us where the human resistance cells are operating. Sure, she said. She glanced at the ceiling once, briefly. That sounds like a fun afternoon. Orek developed an extremely intense interest in the wall to his left. His gold freckles, which glowed faintly under stress, had gone slightly brighter. Serren watched from the doorway, one hand on the frame. That ridge on his brow getting worked over, thoroughly by his thumb. He had served 12 years in the Dominion fleet. He had interrogated warlords. He had never seen anyone look that comfortable being a prisoner. He pulled Orek aside in the corridor 10 minutes later. after Dravan had ordered Mira taken to holding cell 7. "The armor," Serren said quietly. "That shoulder guard." "I know," Orek said. "Run the markings." "I already did, sir," Orek said. His glowing freckles had dimmed back to their resting state, but his voice had the careful tone of someone choosing words with maximum caution. "It matches Commander Voss's plate, confirmed." Serren exhaled slowly through his narrow nose. "Get me everything on Kael-Morrow, every report, even the classified ones." "The classified ones require Commander Dravan's authorization." Serren looked at him for a moment. "Then go ask him. Tell him I need to know exactly how a single human corporal in scrap armor dismantled Kael-Morrow Station, killed a decorated commander, walked into our outpost, and sat down in front of the most dangerous man in the Eastern Fleet like she was waiting for a bus." Orek blinked. "What is a bus, sir?" "I have no idea," Serren said. "I read it in a human document once. The point stands." Holding Cell 7 at Outpost. Nara 6 was not a pleasant place. It was cold. The walls were reinforced alloy. There was a single light strip in the ceiling and a bench bolted to the floor. The door had a 3-point lock system rated for large hostile species. Mira Sola sat on the bench, leaning against the wall, arms crossed loosely. She had been there for 40 minutes. She had not knocked on the door. She had not called for anyone. She had not paced. She was looking at the ceiling. More specifically, she was looking at the ventilation grate in the upper left corner of the ceiling, 60 centimeters wide. The screws were standard Vreth construction hardware, same thread pattern across every facility built in the last 20 years. She knew because she had studied every Vreth construction manual she could find over the past 8 months. The oversized shoulder guard on her right side was not just a trophy. Inside the overlapping plates, sealed between the layers in a gap she had specifically engineered into the patchwork design, were 4 precision tools: a compact signal emitter already tuned to her team's frequency, and a navigation mirror that could copy encrypted data in under 30 seconds if held within arm's reach of the right terminal. The broken, embarrassing, laughable armor had 3 concealed pockets, 2 fold-flat weapons, and enough information storage embedded in the civilian gauntlet to reconstruct half the Vreth fleet's communication architecture. Dravan Sorel had looked at her and seen someone who had been failed by their equipment. That was fine. That was, actually, perfect. She reached up, adjusted the shoulder guard slightly, and felt the satisfying click of everything exactly where it should be. Then she put her arms back down, crossed them, and went back to looking at the ventilation grate with the calm expression of someone doing a very simple math problem in their head. 40 minutes since capture. Extraction window opened in 2 hours. She had plenty of time. She was also, it had to be said, a little hungry. But you could not have everything. Serren found the classified file on Kael-Morrow Station at the 53rd minute mark. He sat alone in the analysis room, a narrow space full of humming data terminals and the faint smell of recycled air. His pale blue skin looked almost gray under the terminal light. He had a cup of hot grain drink beside him that he had completely forgotten about. It had gone cold 20 minutes ago. The file was not long. That was the first problem. Incidents this significant should have generated hundreds of pages of documentation, witness reports, damage assessments, recovery logs. The Kael-Morrow file was 42 pages. 42. For the complete loss of a fully staffed command post, 1 decorated commander, and 9 additional soldiers. Someone had trimmed this file. Badly. Trimmed it the way an amateur cuts a tree, leaving obvious stumps. He read anyway. The attack had begun at 3rd hour. 1 operative, unconfirmed species at time of initial report. Later confirmed human, female, approximately 1.7 meters tall. She had bypassed the perimeter shield by crawling through the drainage channel on the east side of the facility, which the structural report noted had been flagged for repair 14 months prior and never fixed. She had then moved through the maintenance corridor, disabled the internal alarm relay by physically removing a single junction panel, and worked her way through the post over the course of 4 hours. Not 4 minutes. 4 hours. She had not rushed. She had not made noise. The 3 soldiers who had survived the event had each described the same thing. By the Find Sioux, he had navigation charts had been taken. He had not been killed in a firefight. The forensic report used the phrase, precise incapacitation, which Serren read 3 times before he understood it to mean that Bel Voss had been put down efficiently, quietly, and deliberately by someone who clearly knew exactly what they were doing. The shoulder guard had not been left behind by accident. It had been taken. Serren pushed back from the terminal. He stared at the wall for a moment. Then he stood up, walked to the door, and immediately walked back to the terminal and read the last page again. At the bottom of the file, in the administrative notes section that most officers never read because it was usually just filing codes and timestamps, there was a single sentence that the person trimming the file had apparently missed. It read, "Operative demonstrated awareness of facility layout consistent with pre-operation intelligence gathering. Duration of acquisition estimated at minimum 60 to 90 days. 60 to 90 days. Mira Sola had spent 2 to 3 months studying Kael-Morrow Station before she walked in. Serren picked up his cold grain drink, realized it was cold, put it back down, and started running toward Dravan's command hall. Dravan was standing at his wall map when Serren arrived. He had his arms crossed and the expression of someone working through a problem they did not like the shape of. He looked up when Serren came in. "The shoulder guard is confirmed," Serren said, before Dravan could speak. "Bel Voss, Kael-Morrow." "I know," Dravan said. "She spent 3 months preparing for that operation." "I know that too," Dravan said. His voice was quiet. That particular quietness that Serren had learned over 12 years meant the commander was thinking faster than he was talking. "She walked in here voluntarily," Serren said. "Yes. Which means she prepared for this too." Dravan turned from the wall map. His silver cheek plates caught the blue projection light. "What do we have between here and Sublevel 3? "Standard rotation, 8 guards, the corridor checkpoint, the biometric lock on the sublevel door." "How long has she been in holding cell 7? Serren checked the timestamp on his wrist display. 58 minutes. Dravan moved. He did not run because he was Dravan Sorel, and Dravan Sorel did not run in his own facility, but he moved at a pace that made every soldier in the corridor snap to attention and then immediately scramble to follow. The ventilation grate came down at the 59th minute. Mira caught it with one hand before it could make any sound, lowered it gently to the bench, and then looked up at the opening. The shaft was tight. She had known it would be. She had also known it connected to the maintenance corridor on Sublevel 2, which ran parallel to the primary access tunnel for Sublevel 3. She had studied the architectural schematics of outpost Nera 6 for 11 weeks. She was up and into the shaft in 4 seconds. The oversized shoulder guard scraped the side slightly, but she had mentally accounted for the width and angled herself correctly. She moved fast through the shaft, elbows and knees, quiet and even, like she had done this 100 times. Which she had. Different shafts, different facilities, same principle. Behind her, below, the door to holding cell 7 was still locked. The light strip still buzzed. The bench still had the faint impression of where she had been sitting. It looked, from the outside, like a completely secure holding situation. She reached the maintenance corridor junction and dropped down. Concrete floor, dim amber lighting, the low hum of the outpost's power system running through the walls. She pulled the navigation mirror from the shoulder guard's inner pocket and held it in her right hand. Small, flat, about the size of her palm, looked like polished metal. Did not look like a data extraction device. That was the point. She moved left, counted doors, third door on the left, sublevel access, biometric lock. She had gotten the bypass sequence 6 weeks ago from a Vreth defector who had been stationed at a sister facility with identical lock hardware. The defector had handed over the sequence in exchange for safe passage, 3 hot meals, and what he described as a genuine human sandwich, which he had found overwhelming but satisfying. She tapped the bypass sequence on the panel. The light went from orange to green. The door opened. She went down. Sublevel 3 was cold and bright, and smelled like machine oil and charged circuitry. The navigation core stood in the center of the room exactly where the schematics had shown it. A vertical column of data housing about 2 meters tall, surrounded by a waist-high security rail of dark metal. Pale blue light shifted across its surface in slow-moving patterns. The guard at the door was looking at a tablet. Mira had noticed Vreth soldiers developed this habit after long, boring shifts, and she considered it one of humanity's greatest strategic advantages. She was behind him before he heard anything. He was on the floor, unharmed, unconscious, inside of 4 seconds. She was already at the core. The navigation mirror went flat against the primary data panel. The indicator light on its edge pulsed once, twice, locked on. She watched the tiny progress bar on the mirror's surface edge toward completion. 22 seconds. That was what the defector had estimated for a full coordinate copy from this core type. At 19 seconds, the Sublevel 3 door opened. Dravan Sorel walked through it. Behind him, Serren Val. Behind Serren, 4 soldiers. Mira did not move the mirror. She kept it flat against the panel. She looked at Dravan. He looked at her. 3 seconds. Left. Step away from the core, Dravan said. 1 second. The mirror pulsed. Complete. She stepped away from the core, slipping the mirror into her palm with a motion so small and practiced that it looked like she had simply lowered her hand. Dravan crossed the room in 4 strides. He was fast for his size. She had known he would be. She had read his service record. He stopped 2 meters from her, close enough that she had to tilt her head up slightly to hold his gaze. You already transmitted it, he said. It was not a question. Signal emitter has a delayed send, she said. 40 seconds after acquisition, automatic transmission to my team's receiver. So, yes, Tam has it now. The Sublevel 3 room was very quiet. You planned every step of this, he said, from the capture. From 11 weeks before the capture, she said. The capture was step 14. Serren, from behind Dravan, made a sound that was not quite a word. You came in voluntarily, Dravan said. Walked past 8 soldiers. Let yourself be brought to me. Sat in my command hall and had a conversation with me. I needed 45 minutes inside the facility before the extraction window, she said. The conversation gave me time, and it gave my team the signal that I was in position. The shoulder guard, Dravan said. His voice had changed. Not louder, actually quieter, which, in Serren's experience, was significantly worse. You wore his armor deliberately, so I would focus on it. People look at the thing that bothers them, she said. You looked at the armor. You thought about Bel Voss. You thought about Kael-Morrow. You spent at least 20 minutes running that file while I was in holding, which was 20 minutes I needed. Dravan stared at her. The silver lines of his cheek plates were very sharp under the bright clinical lights of Sublevel 3. His dark brown eyes held her with the kind of attention that most people would find suffocating. She met it without flinching. "You are very good," he said. "Thank you," she said. "You are also very good. You got here in 59 minutes, which is 4 minutes faster than I projected. I had 63 minutes in my plan. And yet you still finished?" 4 minutes early," she said pleasantly. Serren rubbed his brow ridge so hard he was going to wear a groove into it. Dravan was quiet for a long moment. "What happens now? You are still inside a locked outpost with 32 armed soldiers." 28, she said. "Peck took a team to the east perimeter because my signal emitter broadcast a false movement alert out there about 2 minutes before you came in." Serren closed his eyes briefly. "And the 4 who came with you," she said, glancing past Dravan at the soldiers by the door, "are between me and the exit, which is a problem, except that my extraction team is currently cutting through the outpost's north wall." She paused. "You should hear it in about 10 seconds. Everyone in the room went very still. "At least 9 seconds. A low grinding sound began from somewhere above them, deep in the structure of the outpost. The unmistakable sound of a military-grade cutting tool working through reinforced alloy. Dravan looked at the ceiling, then back at her. "How long have they been cutting?" "They started when I sent the confirmation signal from your command hall," she said. "About 45 minutes ago. North wall, upper level maintenance access point. Your motion sensors do not cover that angle because the sensor array has a 12-degree blind spot on the north face due to the communications tower placement." She reached up and touched the oversized shoulder guard on her right side. Her fingers ran along the edge of it lightly. "Belvoss built his post the same way," she said. Her voice was even, not mocking, almost gentle. "Same sensor placement, same blind spot logic. I learned from Kael-Morrow. I used what I learned." Dravan looked at her for a very long moment. Something was happening. In his expression that was not quite what anyone in that room had ever seen on his face before. Not anger, not the cold certainty he usually wore. Something more like recognition. The look of a person who has spent their entire life being the sharpest thing in the room and has just met something sharper. "If I order my soldiers to take you right now," he said, "the data is already gone. I gain nothing." "You gain a prisoner who will tell you nothing useful," she agreed. "And you lose 4 soldiers in the attempt because I am not planning to make it easy. You are alone." "I was alone at Kael-Morrow too," she said. "Ask your file." The cutting sound from above had grown louder. Close now. Maybe 2 minutes. "What do you want?" Dravan said. "Right now, from me, in this room." She looked at him steadily. "Let me walk out. Your soldiers stand down. Nobody gets hurt tonight. The data is gone regardless. You cannot get it back. All you can do is decide whether tonight ends with casualties or not. And if I say no, then it ends with casualties," she said simply. "And I still walk out." Dravan held her gaze for what felt like a very long time in a room where the cutting sound was getting closer and nobody was breathing especially well. Then he looked at Serren. Serren, to his own complete surprise, gave a very small shrug that meant, "She is not wrong." Dravan looked back at Mira Sola, at the mismatched armor, at the oversized shoulder guard that had belonged to his oldest friend, at the calm, unhurried face of a woman who had walked into an enemy outpost carrying concealed tools in patchwork scrap armor and had, piece by piece, taken exactly what she came for. "Stand down," he said, to the soldiers behind him. Then, louder, into his communication badge, "All units, stand down. Hold positions." Mira nodded once. She walked toward the door. The 4 soldiers moved aside. She passed within arm's reach of Dravan Sorel, and he did not move. and she did not rush. At the door, she stopped. She turned back. "He fought well," she said. "At Kael-Morrow, Belvoss. I want you to know that." Dravan said nothing. "He was the best opponent I faced that night," she said, "by a significant margin." She left. The north wall breach opened 90 seconds later. Mira came up through the maintenance level and walked through a clean-cut hole in the outpost wall into the cold night air of the outer plane of Nera 6. 2 humans waited with the transport, engine running, lights off. Tam Osei, compact and sharp-eyed, with close-cut hair and the perpetually unimpressed expression of someone who had done many extractions and found them all personally inconvenient, looked her over once. "You are 4 minutes early," he said. "I know," she said, climbing into the transport. "The commander was faster than I thought." "Was it close?" She considered this for a moment, settling into the seat, feeling the familiar rattle of the transport as it pulled away across the dark, cracked earth of the plain. The twin moons of Nera 6 hung low on the horizon, one pale white, one faintly orange, casting double shadows across the ground. "No," she said. "But it was good." She looked down at the shoulder guard one last time. The markings on it caught the pale moonlight. Decorative. Precise. The badge of a decorated commander who had been very fast on his feet. She had kept it polished because she had meant what she said. It had also been the best distraction she had ever used. She unbuckled the shoulder guard and set it carefully on the seat beside her. Then she leaned back, closed her eyes, and listened to the transport carry her away from outpost Nera 6 and into the open plain, where Dravan Sorel's fleet coordinates were already moving at light speed toward the human resistance command, and where tonight, in the cold and the quiet, humanity had once again done the impossible thing. Not with bigger ships, not with stronger armor, not with numbers, with 11 weeks of homework, one very bad-looking shoulder guard, and a smile that had never once, not for a single second, been anything other than completely intentional. Back in Sublevel 3, the unconscious guard was waking up, confused and unhurt. Serren was standing very still, looking at the navigation core. Dravan Sorel was looking at the door she had walked out of. Orek appeared at the sub-level entrance looking flushed and out of breath. "Commander," he said, "Peck's team found nothing at the east perimeter. False alert, origin unclear." "I know," Dravan said, "and the north wall there is a hole in it, sir." "I know that too." Orek stood very carefully in the doorway. "What do we do, sir?" Dravan was quiet for another moment. Then he straightened his rank sash. The deep violet caught the bright clinical light of Sublevel 3. His expression had returned to its usual controlled certainty, though something behind it was different now, very slightly, in a way that nobody in that room could name but everyone could feel. "We fix the wall," he said. "We file a full report, an honest one, this time." A pause. "And we redesign the sensor array on every outpost in the Eastern Fleet." He walked toward the door. "And Serren." "Sir." "Whatever the human resistance is paying her," Dravan said, "it is not enough." He walked out. Serren looked at the empty navigation core for one more second. Then he followed.